Ooh, heaven is a place on earth. If you think about it, every time we talk about going to heaven in Judaism, we talk about going to Gan Eden. But isn't Gan Eden a place on earth? Ooh, heaven is a place on earth. Not like that. Gan Eden is how we refer to like the next world, to the place of reward or pleasure in the next world. And yet we know it was also in this world. So which one is it? Is it a physical place or is it a spiritual place? So the Ramchal explains that Hashem took a portion of the earth and elevated it so that he sort of transformed this physical place into a spiritual place. I can't really explain what that looks like, but in other words, just sublimating all the material from something physical to something spiritual. Such that, interestingly, when we don't think about it, but when we read the story of creation and we read the story of Adam in the garden and the snake, so the snake talks to him, right? And then Hashem punishes the snake afterwards. He curses him and he says, you're going to go on your belly. But he never says, and you're not going to be able to talk anymore. And yet, we find snakes today and they don't talk to us. And if one did, I think we'd be very surprised, right? Are we surprised when we find the snake in the Torah is talking? Adam and Chava don't seem surprised by it, right? The snake starts talking to Chava. She goes, oh my gosh, you're a snake. How are you talking to me? She talks right back to him. So even the animals in the Garden of Eden were elevated to like a spiritual level. So animals could speak. Now, generally speaking, only human beings can speak. But somehow when everything was elevated, so now even the animals could speak in the Garden of Eden. You have to understand what was the state of man in Gan Eden. So imagine this, very difficult to imagine, but I'm going to say words. We have a body. You can feel it, you can see it, touch it, experience it. We have a soul. We know we have a soul, but it's almost impossible to experience the soul while we're in this physical body. We kind of know it's there, but we're not living on the level of the soul. It's just, we have a soul and the soul connects us to the Almighty. The sages tell us that every part of the body corresponds to a part of the soul. We're totally connected. We're completely integrated. There's connections to the soul in every part of the body. So just like you have a physical hand, your soul has a hand, your soul has a foot, your soul has a heart and a head and so on. It's just not corporeal. It's not any type of substance that can be measured in this physical universe. Says the Ramchal, at the time of Gan Eden, Adam's body was what we have today as a soul. The thing that is our neshama that we can't even get in touch with because it's so immaterial, that structure that we call a neshama, that all of us in this room have right now, that structure was the body of Adam Harishon. Meaning the physical body was elevated to a spiritual substance. And that's how he could exist in the Gan Eden, which was a physical realm elevated to a spiritual level of existence, a spiritual substance. Adam's soul, he also had a soul. So his body was what we today call a soul. But that soul had a soul of a soul. And that soul was of an even higher, more exalted, even more refined substance, if you could imagine. Because we can't even imagine what our own soul is. And that was the body of Adam. His body had a soul even more refined than that. Had Adam succeeded in the test that he was given to not eat from this fruit, and I'm using the terminology that the Torah gives us to use, he would have purified his body such that his body would have transformed till it was made of the substance that his soul was made of, that higher substance, and his soul would have transformed till it was made of something even higher than that. And he would have lived on this level of such proximity to the creator, to the source of everything, that would have been in and of itself the eternal pleasure of the next world. And all he needed to do was refrain from eating the forbidden fruit until Shabbos, because he was created halfway through Friday. Okay? Because man sinned, the opposite process took place. His body was lowered and it transformed into a lower form, which is the physical body that we possess today. And his soul was lowered and thickened until it became the substance that we today, till it became the equivalent of what his body had been. His soul became his body, which is now our soul. And his body became what is now our body. Okay, why am I telling you all this? Because the idea of the return to form at the end of time, when we will go through a process of refinement such that we will return to the state of Gan Eden. So if our bodies don't make it, our souls go, because that is, why do our souls go to Gan Eden? Because that's exactly where Adam's body resided before the sin. And his body is what we call a soul. So our bodies can't enter that place, but our souls can. So Gan Eden, the same place that was Gan Eden in the Torah, is now, it's the same place. It's the place where souls can dwell. Our souls will go there, but the Trias HaMesim, the way it's understood Kabbalistically, is that the bodies will also be refined such that we will elevate, and our bodies will be able to live forever in Gan Eden because they will be elevated to the level that our soul is at now. And our souls will elevate even higher till we are at the state of essentially Adam prior to the sin. Oh my gosh, you're a snake. How are you talking to me?